welcome to another Doctor Who Big Finish review. It's that time of month again for the monthly range, and this time I'm taking a look at the 7th Doctor story, Fiesta of the Damned, which is this month's release, and it's one that I was actually meant to review on time, but due to me being in London, I wasn't able to. So yeah, this review is about a week delayed, so I do apologise if you've been waiting for it. This is the second episode of the current 7th Doctor run, following on from A Life of Crime. It's not connected in any way, it's just sort of with the team of Mel and Ace on the TARDIS, which is one that I didn't really imagine that would work quite well with them having quite contrasting attitudes, but it's one that I was quite interested in when reading up on this story. First off, as always, in the description below I will leave the link to this release on the Big Finish website. It's $14.99 and it's out now. As always with the monthly range, this episode is split into 4 parts and it's the standard 2-hour long format. I do believe like give or take a few minutes. And yeah, it's one of those ones that once again I went into not really knowing much about. I followed on straight away from A Life of Crime, expecting to sort of have a bit of attitude between Mel and Ace and things, because I don't really think that their characters aren't really very similar in any way. They are very different. I think that was definitely something that the writers would have needed to pick up on, and they did. Mel does have a bit of a lack in this story, I must say. I think that she's not in it as much as I actually thought she would be, but I'm guessing that's due to her role in EastEnders, of course. Bonnie Langford has gone on to be in EastEnders in recent months, so I'm guessing that's relating to that in some way. Starting off with characters, as I've sort of already gone into it, the 7th Doctor once again is on quite top form for this story. I think that he's one of those Doctors that really has benefited from the audio universe. However, I don't think that he's sort of had his time on Big Finish yet. I think that he's very similar to how he is in the show. There is actually quite a lot of moments that relate quite well with the show also. He uses sort of the rolling of his R's, and his attitude is quite there as well. There is a bit of dark attitude in there. I sort of assume it's from the later episodes that he's in, but yeah, I think that his character of the Doctor I think works quite well, especially in this story, which is actually quite a dark setting. And then we of course have Sophia Aldred as Ace, and once again she's been on top form. I think that honestly Sophia Aldred is possibly one of the best companions that I've listened to on Big Finish. I think that every single episode that I've listened to with her in, she's been exactly the same. She's been Ace how she was in the show, and I think that her character is definitely something that is, once again, she's one of the most padded out companions that we've had in the classic series, and this has allowed for her to have more room. But I think in this one it's just nice to see Ace as she normally is. There's quite a few great moments in there. One where they're in like this cafe tea room place and Mel wants sort of some smoothie type of drink, bouncing out of her saying like things like smoothies of tears and spinach or something like that. I think that once again it's something that really captures her character from the actual show very well, and once again it's like she's never aged. She literally sounds exactly the same. Moving on to the episode itself, it's written by Guy Adams, which he's another one of the Big Finish regulars, I do believe. He's not really as regular as the other regulars, but he's one that definitely crops up every so often. I do believe that he actually written the recent Made You Look on the Torchwood one, which I've heard good things about, but yeah, he's one of the quite frequent ones on Big Finish. The setting for this story is quite different. We're in Spain, so it's all nice and hot. However, it's not Spain as we know it. It's not Costa Brava with all the sun and things in the nice deck chairs. It's in fact the Spanish Civil War, which is one of the darkest parts of Spanish history, and of course the Doctor lands there expecting to have this lovely taste of Spain, as it says in the trailer. Even in the bio on the website it said the Doctor lands there to give a really good taste of Spain. I do believe the tropical climates or something. It's searching for a taste of real Spain, and then he goes and lands in the Spanish Civil War. Straight away for this story, there isn't really much faffing about. I do think they get straight in. We're introduced to a camp of people which are like soldiers from the Spanish Civil War, and they're hiding out, and of course the planes come over, but they have a fire on so they know exactly where to bomb. And then of course people get bombed, and then they need to go to the most local village, and the Doctor and Ace and Mel come in. Because the Doctor's a doctor, he can sort of help in a few medical ways and things, and he can offer his help and things. So they go to the local village in order to sort of seek refuge and things, which is nice because we get really introduced to some of the characters in this sort of army base plot, which I do quite like. It's one of those ones that's actually, once again, for a monthly range story, quite a small cast, but I think that we get to know the people quite well. First off, you have Christopher Hafferall. Now, he played George Newman in the story, and he's quite a companion role. I think that maybe in the early drafts of this story, his character may have been Mel, and because of her being in EastEnders, she may have been drafted out, and we've had this new companion in. And yeah, he is quite a companion of the story. Of course, he doesn't go off with them in the end, but he's an English reporter reporting on the Civil War, so he's quite a well-spoken British accent. Doesn't really get on with Ace very well at the very start of the story, so we have a few comedic moments there, which is nice. But I think that throughout the story, they sort of create a bit of a relationship. I think that they go off searching for his camera, and they come across the alien of the story, and yeah, he's actually quite a nice one. I did really enjoy him in the story. He's a very good actor. I think a very good voice actor. He's very well spoken, as I say. I think he's quite a nice actor, and I think that I really enjoyed his presence in the story. Next character was played by Enzo Squilinio Jr., and he played John Romeo, which he is the stereotypical Spanish accent person. He develops a relationship with Mel, actually, because the Seventh Doctor and Ace go off, which once again it's quite a Seventh Doctor and Ace based story, and Mel stays within the town in the church, and she develops quite a relationship with one of the sort of captain people of the army. Again, he's quite a nice character. I think that once again you have this really nice Spanish setting, and having quite a Spanish person in there being quite an integral part of the story works very nicely, and once again it sort of helps you get used to the environment in a way. Remember when I was reviewing The Life of Crime that I said that it's one of those stories that's not for a new listener of Big Finish, and I sort of agree slightly with this one as well. I think that this is definitely one of the more nicer stories of the monthly range that you could get into. It's a bit more of a simpler plot, it's nothing too extravagant, and we basically have a very simple alien race that the Time Lords previously defeated because they have these seeds that go and sort of infiltrate other planets to breed on a little bit of plants, spread their seeds and things. It is quite a nice little idea, and yeah, it's quite a simple one because we don't really in fact see the aliens follow the story like the aliens themselves. You have that alien spaceship and sort of the components of the machine that basically keeps track of things, but the way we see the aliens is in fact when people get infected just by one touch, and then they be created into this sort of quite a lizardy creature that is on the cover. It looks quite sort of Loch Ness monstery, I guess, but yeah, it's sort of this very interesting sort of lizard type of creature, which once again the people of the village get turned into that. So physically for the story, we don't in fact have an alien, but instead the seeds turn people into the alien, which is quite an interesting thing. Once again, I do quite like the transformation idea. And later on in the story, Mel in fact also gets infected. For a while of the story, she's in fact also one of these lizard people, which is actually quite eerie, as well as sort of the voice of the spaceship. I think that the female voicing of these aliens are quite creepy. Quite a different story. It doesn't feel like the standard monthly range one because once again, as I say, the cast is quite small and it is quite confined. We are pretty much confined to a village for the story, and then sort of a little bit of the outskirts and some of the nice sort of Spanish wasteland, I guess, with some like lynx and different animals and things, and the Doctor and Ace running along that. It's a very nice sort of picturesque story, I think, and I could definitely imagine at night having sort of the grasshoppers and things and the noises and the Seventh Doctor and Ace running across the lovely layout and things and all of like the different climates and things. It is actually quite an interesting one, and I think that generally it's a nice format. I think that if you're trying to get into the monthly range, this one actually might be one that you might be interested in because it is quite a simple story, as I say, nothing too complicated. Even in the further episodes like 2 and 3, sort of the middle ones are normally the ones where the plot gets a little bit sort of weird in places, or even in episodes 3 and 4 it's sort of when the plot gets twisted round and a little bit confusing and hard to follow. But in this one, as I say, we just have a linear story that goes from beginning to end of how to defeat these creatures, and to start with, the Doctor thinks that he's won, but in fact actually gets destroyed, the machine that he was using, and then he needs to come up with a different way. And yeah, it is a very interesting idea, I think. And once again, I don't really want to go into the complete depth of the story because it does have a few things in there that I think that once again it's one of those ones that you need to listen to sort of get the full grasp of. I must also say the music soundtrack for this story, it's a recurring theme of the Seventh Doctor ones, I think. I didn't actually comment on it last time, I don't think. I got through editing and then I realised at the very end that I didn't comment on Life of Crime and that sort of soundtrack that it had for that has been probably one of the best for this year. This one's no exception as well. I think that the music is very relevant. It's very sort of Spanish-esque. It's quite stringish. Reminds me a little bit of the Two Doctors music and soundtrack that they used for that story. It was very relevant to sort of the scenario and things, and sort of the setting. It was very nice, and I did really like it. Sort of fitted in quite well. Big Finish music this year especially is honestly getting better and better. I think that generally as each episode comes around, especially some as Fallen Angel as well, like that, as solely bases on some of the music at some point. And once again, you sort of actually forget that this is not a visual story and you sort of end up picturing it in your head. It's one of those very nice and visual ones. So the cliffhangers for this story, I think that sometimes you do get a bit of a dodgy cliffhanger with a classic series, and it's quite similar to Big Finish as well, because having 3 cliffhangers per story, it can sometimes be a bit of a struggle to have something of a climax every 25 minutes or so. There's quite a few different cliffhangers, some of which are sort of having a bit of a, oh, we're done with it the next episode, within a minute or so. But there's one at the end, I do believe, of part 2 to part 3, where the Doctor actually gets controlled by the machine, he sort of gets trapped, and then they take over the TARDIS, and there is actually quite a threatening scene where you actually wonder how is he actually going to get out of this when he's sort of trapped in. And actually the companion of the episode, not Ace, not Mel, but the reporter actually saves him from this because Ace doesn't have a clue what to do. Creatures actually take over the TARDIS to gain their power, and that's how they sort of gain a few more people from the village. And I think that once again it works very nicely. It's quite a dangerous style of story, the dangerous plot, the dangerous setting as well. I think it's definitely one of those ones that's sort of going a little bit back to the 1 to 50 style of range because it's generally quite a dark piece of history. So generally overall for this story, I'm going to leave you to find out the rest, because I think once again this is one of those ones that I think that you need to sort of listen to actually get the full impact once again. So if you are intrigued by what I've said already, then I would probably recommend going down buying it below. There's of course the trailer and things on the Big Finish website. It's one of those ones that personally, once again, we've never really seen anything in a Spanish Civil War, I don't think, in Doctor Who before. So therefore it's something new, it's something different, and I really do like it sort of when Doctor Who goes to another country but actually uses it well, because I think that in the new series we do go to a lot of different and foreign countries, such as in Series 6 we went to America, and you know, I think that sometimes it's not really used to the full extent as well. We had in Hellbent even, we had the American diner and stuff like that. It didn't really feel relevant, it didn't really feel needed. Like, why would you go to America for that specific thing? Even though I don't even think it was actually filmed in America. I know the cafe scenes weren't, but yeah, I don't really understand why. And even when we used Lanzarote for the moon, that was a good example of using an alternative layout for something that's not actually that country. But yeah, I think that generally it would be nice to see something in the new series where they go to another country, but that actually benefits the plot, because in this we have a perfect layout, we have a perfect setting of having the very nice and sort of Spanish wasteland and things that sort of accompanies the plot very well. As I say, I can sort of imagine the dust and things and Ace and the Doctor running about after these sea creatures. I think that it's once again something that works differently, it's something new, and it's nice to sort of not be stuck on a spaceship for a while, because I think that sometimes in the monthly range, such as like Aquatine or things like that, I think that with the monthly range there's sometimes the standard stories where you're sort of stuck on a base somewhere, and it's nice to sort of get out there and have sort of a very nice sort of outdoor story for once. And it is once again something very different, and something that we've not really seen to this extent so far for this year. So if you're interested with the 7th Doctor, Mel and Ace being together, as well as these creatures taking over with their sea things, a few nice little scenes in there as well, I'd probably recommend this one. It's of course $14.99, but yeah, it's a nice little listen if you're interested in that era. If you're not interested in the 7th Doctor and the relationship that Ace and that have, maybe miss out on this one, but I honestly think that it's quite a nice little story. That is actually quite an intriguing one as well. That's it for the story. As I said at the start of the video, in the description below, I will leave the link to go and buy this story from the Big Finish website. It is out now. Join me next time for my next monthly range review, where I'm going to be taking a look at The Maker of Demons, written by Matthew J. Elliott, which I don't actually think that he's wrote for the monthly range before, or at least he hasn't this year. I'm not aware of any of his stuff that he's done in the past. And listening from the trailer, it seems quite an interesting one. So once again, I do believe that is our end of our current 7th Doctor era. Then we've got one 5th Doctor story, and then we go into the 6th Doctor era to end out the year, which shall look very exciting, including Order of the Daleks and things like that. So yeah, we've got quite a few monthly range stories to go for this year, but overall for this one, it's been a pretty good release. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please do give it a big like. Please subscribe if you're not already. If you have any questions, please do leave them below, and I'll be sure to answer them at some point in the near future. Thanks again for watching, and I shall see you all next time. So thanks for watching, and bye for now.